Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our industry chat. Today, we're super excited to have Michael Walker. He is from Modern Musician. And if you are an independent artist who's been on the internet at all, you have probably seen his site and his stuff. He's got a lot of great educational tips and tricks and teaches artists how to build fan funnels and really dives into email marketing, which is actually what we're going to talk about today. So, Michael, thanks so much for being with us. Do you mind telling us a little bit about who you are and how you got into the biz and all about Modern Musician?
Yeah. Hey, I always got to start with one of those. But
I love
hi,
it.
Don. It's great to be here, and thanks for having me. Yeah, I'll try to do the short version. So my name is Michael. The CEO and founder of Modern Musician. Before Modern Musician, I had toured with my band Paradise Fears for about 10 years. We learned the hard way that starting a career from scratch can be really challenging. We grew up in Vermillion, South Dakota, so there wasn't a big music scene there. But at the beginning, we lived in our van. We slept on our parking lots, we ate peanut butter tortillas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we're basically like the definition of starving artists, as we were trying to get things launched. And long story short, we stumbled upon a strategy that I came to call tour hacking. And this one strategy took us from that point where we were sleeping in our van, eating peanut butter tortillas, to selling 24,000 CDs and eventually releasing an album that hit number two on iTunes and getting about 24 million streams. And it wasn't just this one strategy, but if I had to choose like one thing that was probably the most like personally transformative, and for like me and for our band, it was a strategy: tour hacking. And in a nutshell, we realized that when we went out to see shows of our favorite bands, like All Time Low and Mayday Parade and Blink 182 and pop punk, pop rock artists, we noticed that there was this huge line of fans that were waiting on the sidewalk to get into the venue. And at the time, we were really trying hard to figure out how do we find the right people who are actually likely to come out to our shows or that would like our music, and had this like eureka moment where we're like probably the people who are also fans of All Time Low, just like us, and who are actually at the show, who've proven that they're kind of fan who's like, yes, bought a ticket that's there, are be the most likely person to actually enjoy our music too. And our music was not great back then. You can verify it if you Google the secret to dropping out. Um, it was, in fact, like we took the album off of Spotify, but then our fans found it and like put it back on YouTube, so you can verify for yourself how bad it is. But we were able to really, I think the thing that really kind of set it apart was the fact that we were really truly connecting with people. We basically at the show, we were like, what if we just go talk to these people and introduce ourselves and share some of our music? Um, and if they like it, maybe they'd be interested in coming out to our shows too. And I was a super shy, awkward kid, so that didn't come natural to me at all. And I remember shaking and stuttering as I walked up to people. But what we found was that it just worked really well. I think because we were talking to the right people and because
Yeah.
of the personal connection. And so that's how we went from scratch to selling 24,000 CDs in about 6.5 months, because we did it the
Wow.
first time. We're like, wow, this strategy, like this is the first thing that really works. We should go all in on this. And there were six of
Yeah.
us in the band, so we split up into groups of two, and we started following different tours around the country. And we sold 24,000 CDs in about 6.5 months. That got us on the radar of one of our favorite bands, All Time Low, who had millions of fans, and we grew up listening to. They gave us the opportunity to open for them on their next tour. And it's if for any musician who's listening to this right now, if you imagine your favorite artist of all time reaching out to you and inviting
Yeah.
you to open for them on tour for a month, then you can imagine how
Huge.
much of a dream come true that was. And and that kind of sparked a independent career for about 10 years where I toured full time. We released an album that hit number two on iTunes. We had about 24 million streams, and we were never like Beyonce or Ed Sheeran, but we were fully independent, and we were able to do what we loved for for a long time. And at the end of it, I met my now wife. Started thinking about settling down, starting a family. I was gone most of the year at the time. All
Yeah.
this like digital marketing, funnel stuff, advertising were completely dark to me. Like we had always just toured and grassroots
Yeah.
marketing. We had never run any sort of like ad campaigns. So around that time when I was deciding, like, do I go back to college? We never went to college. Like, do I have to get a real job? I stumbled upon some mentors in the digital marketing space who have, kind of mastered the art of advertising and funnels and have, built help online businesses sell billions of dollars of revenue. And so I basically found people who are smarter than I am, at those things, and learned a lot about how to market yourself, for Modern
Mhm.
Musician and through some of the artists we were working with. And like almost everyone we talked to, the problem was the same. And I think probably a lot of folks who might be listening to this right now can relate to this, because I know I certainly could, which was you have this like music that you've invested your soul and your heart and probably your cash into recording as well, and actually figuring out how to cut through the noise and find and connect with the people who are most likely to enjoy it is extremely challenging right now because of the
Yeah.
state of the internet and how much music is being released. And so over and over and over again, I heard the biggest challenge is being like, how do I connect with my fans? How do I build an audience? And then how do I make it sustainable? And, um, for us, like we relied a lot on live shows and touring and tour hacking at the beginning. And a lot of people were like, I love the idea of tour hacking, but I do not want to live in my car and go eat peanut butter tortillas and go do this. Is there any way that I can use social media or digital marketing or this like
Right.
funnel stuff that you're doing in order to, to build a community?
Right.
And that's what kind of led us to um, where we are today of teaching artists how to launch ad campaigns, digital marketing funnels, and our software as a service that time of recording this is in private beta, but we're doing a public launch for the summer for
Yeah.
Street Team. And yeah, I said I was going to make that short, but then I think I basically
I
just
love
told you
it.
like my life story.
I love it. I don't think I knew all of that from the beginning. I mean, obviously you and I have spoken before and I knew you'd been in the industry and had some success as an independent artist and all, but I didn't know. I love hearing the story. That's super cool, and the tour hacking bit is fun, and I can see kind of the evolution that has had, into Modern Musician and what you would maybe call like the digital version of tour hacking, and finding like-minded fans, and I do think it all comes back to that point that you make about connection and authenticity. Like, it seems like everything we do in the music industry in terms of reaching our ideal fan base is it comes back to that. It comes back to like, how are you able to connect, and not only connect, but like how do you do that authentically to where your audience feels like they have a relationship with you too. And I know that at here at Pressed, we talk about that a lot in a lot of different aspects, whether it's like through a PR campaign or through social media or through an email list or through whatever it might be. We talk about that in a lot of different facets. So it was cool to hear you kind of compare as well, and kind of bring that point home, because it's a good reminder, I think, for independent artists that the connection is kind of the most important part. I mean, music is such a personal product, like it's a personal product, not only for you as the person giving the product, but also for the consumer. So I think, if you are not thinking about connection, I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice as an artist, just in general.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, it all comes down to relationships and the
Yeah.
connections that you're making. And that's both true of the music industry, but it's also true of like life itself, and just like what makes a
True.
fulfilled human being. And it's, it's our communities, it's our relationships, it's the connections, the people that we have with people who are important in our life. And that
Yeah.
certainly is true for any successful artist, like Taylor Swift. There's a reason that part of their story is that they deeply care about their audience,
Right.
and they've put in, the time to actually personally connect with their fans and go way above and beyond to meet every single person and build that strong relationship. And
Mhm.
it does all come back to connection and building real relationships.
Yeah, yeah, I fully agree with that. I'd love to talk about, just today, our focus is really bringing that connection into email marketing, and I'd love to just dive into that and discover like why is that still a critical tool for independent artists, because I have a lot of artists who come to me and they think it's not an important tool, mainly because social media has taken over and you have all these other avenues to connect with people. And a lot of people, when I bring up email marketing, they're like, isn't that outdated? Isn't that like a thing of the past, and it's really not. So I'd love to hear your perspective on email marketing and why that's still really critical.
Mm, yeah, that's a great question. And it shocks me when I hear people who are
I
like
know.
email, like marketing, like is that even important? Just because
Right.
it's like the most important thing. If well, I guess it depends on your goals. Like if you want to look cool, then email marketing is not the most important thing. Like if you want to look cool, then I don't know, get a bunch of followers on Instagram or Spotify, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with like having an audience on those platforms, but it's sort of like the shiny. It's like having a shiny outside of your car, but if you don't have the engine, then the car's
Hmm.
not going to go anywhere. Like you can make it look really nice and make it look really cool, but like you got to have like the guts and the engine. If you don't, then it's just going to sit in one place, and it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be able to create momentum. And so, I mean, email marketing is it's like the guts of every successful online business that I know that, is, uh, at least you're making $100,000 a year or $1 million a year or more is like email is like the primary driver. And social media is a nice kind of entry point, or it's a nice way to connect with people on the front end. But in terms of the actual like sales and revenue and movement and momentum, email is just a lot more. It's a much better return on investment. And you can
Hmm.
search for like studies and just Google like ROI of email marketing versus social media marketing, and it gets clear pretty fast just looking at the metrics how important email is. Um, but I think one analogy that might help put it into perspective is I forget who came up with this. I didn't come up with this, but I really like this idea that social media is a little bit like going to a dinner party or like a social gathering, where it's
Hmm.
great to like connect with people and build relationships. But it would be kind of weird if at the dinner table you started pitching like something to sell to like the people at the dinner table or at the social gathering. Not because those people don't want to support you or they don't like want to connect. It's just not quite the appropriate medium to be able to like have like a that type of sales conversation. Whereas email is a little bit like inviting them to come back to your office and having a personal conversation with them, and then that's just a little bit more of appropriate of a way to ask for a sale. Whereas
Right.
if you're on social media being like, yo, buy my stuff, it just doesn't feel right because it's not the right platform to be able to do that. So it has
Right.
its place. That's how you network and build relationships with people. But if that's all you're doing, then you're not really going to be able to take that next step and go deeper with your fans.
I love that analogy. I haven't heard that, but that makes complete sense. And I think that's a great analogy. And speaking of like, social media, the difference in social media and email marketing and kind of the different purposes they serve, are there other advantages that email marketing has over things like Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, just when it comes to building a loyal fan base? Can you dive into that a little bit more? I mean, I know like making that connection can be a little bit more personal in email marketing and things like that, but what are your thoughts?
100%. I think one of the key differences between email and social media platforms is that with email, you can create an automated sequence and really like
Mm,
take your fans on a journey. And you can create
yeah.
these types of powerful marketing campaigns that with social media, it's a little bit more like a flash in the pan where you might put something out. And if,
Yeah.
if it goes really well, then it might go viral and you might get a bunch of traffic. But it's a little bit like if it starts to rain and like the rain represents new people discovering you and your content, like it might be a flash flood where all of a sudden it rains. But if you're just kind of standing below the rain with your hands out, then
Yeah.
most of the rain goes into the ground. Whereas if you actually have like an email list or a rain catcher or a funnel, then that can
Yeah.
help capture the rain as it's falling down, so you can stay more connected with those people and it doesn't just go to waste.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'd say the email sequences are one of the most powerful things that you can build in terms of taking people on a journey. Um, Another analogy that I like as it relates to emails and understanding the difference between email and social media is because you can be a lot more intentional with what emails someone receives at what point. For example, when you
Mhm.
have a new fan that joins your email list, you can create a specific sequence of like, here's the welcome email, here's my first song email, my second song, my third song, and the stories behind them. Whereas with like social media, they're kind of just jumping right into the deep end of like, here's what's happening right now, which is cool for some things, like staying connected with people and you kind of see, oh, what are they doing right now? Then it's
Right.
really helpful. But it's a little bit like creating a narrative or creating a story to connect with people is really challenging for new fans who don't know who you are, because them coming to your social media is a little bit like if you started reading Harry Potter and you jumped in at like book 6, page
Mhm.
321, and you're like, wait, Snape? What? Dumbledore? And like you don't have the context of knowing like who are these characters and why are they doing what they're doing, like that you just lose so much of the power in the connection that you have with those characters because you're jumping into the deep end out of order. Whereas
Mhm.
with email, you can start at page number 1 and you can kind of bring people into your journey to catch them up. And now when, if everyone's reading page number 678 together at the same time, it is cool to kind of have that community focus where
Yeah.
it's like, wow,
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, this just happened, everyone. Like, what do you think about this thing that just happened? But it doesn't make quite as much sense to like try
Yeah.
to tell like a narrative story, kind of looping people back, because then you have yes, it's not really built for that purpose.
Mhm.
And that's where email can really shine, is helping you connect with those new fans who are coming in.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so crucial and such an important part of the fan funnel. It's just like I loved your analogy of capturing the rain because I think that's just so crucial. And I think it's missed in a lot of cases for independent artists. So super important. If so let's say there's an independent artist listening to this, they're convinced they need an email list, but they're like, where do I start? How do you start building those email lists from scratch? Like how do you incentivize? What kind of content do you put out there? Like, how do you make that transition from having someone follow you on social media to then joining your email list?
Mm. Oh, that's such a good question. Um, so I'm going to share my screen here and just kind of like share a diagram that might help to break it down.
Perfect.
So depending on when you're listening to this, if you are listening after April 2025, then the best way for sure is going to be going to streetteam.fm and signing up for a
Okay.
free account. The way that the platform works, and this is like my secret evil plan,
Mhm.
is that the platform's free to use, and there's a 10% commission on revenue you generate using the platform. That's really the way that I think that we can best align the incentives. So we have a shared incentive to help you grow. And compared to the traditional record label model of giving up 75 or 80% of your royalties, we think that 10% is a great plan to really supercharge you and help you grow. But that's up to you to decide. That's why we make it free to use, so you can actually get the value from it. But yeah, there's I'd be shocked if you using this platform doesn't help you generate at least 10% more than you would have anywhere else. And it was custom designed specifically for you as an artist. Um, but zoom back out to the overall framework of how do you connect more? First of all, how do you build your community in the first place? Maybe even before you have a social media following. Like that's kind of one question: is how do we actually find those people and connect with them? But then also, like you just asked, how do you take them from a social media follower or a casual listener to someone that actually is an engaged fan and is a part of your community? So generally, how we start out, and there's different ways to do this, but the core of it's the same: is that you have to find out who are your people and where do they congregate, where do they hang out. One thing that tends to be true is that if you start by just making a list of all of your favorite artists that you grew up listening to and who you would love to go on tour with, generally there's going to be strands of DNA from them into you. And if someone resonates with their music, they're much more likely to resonate with your music as well. So I'd recommend just making a list of all of your favorite bands, and that'll be your target audience. And then from there, the way to connect with that audience is either if you're crazy like we were and you want to go tour hacking, then you literally can go tour hacking, meet people face to face. That's still easily like the fastest way to get in front of those people and connect with them. And as long as it's in a public area, like legally, like there's, I think it's the First Amendment basically makes it so like you can talk to whoever you want in a public area. So that's one way to do it. The other way, and this is what we focus on primarily, is running advertising campaigns. There's different platforms that you can use to run these kinds of campaigns, but the idea is the same. That generally, the best way to do it is to make a list of your favorite artists you want to target. And instead of, for example, walking up to fans waiting in lines for shows, you might instead launch a campaign using something like Street Team. And let's see if I can give you a quick demo here of just kind of like what that looks like. And this is the kind of thing that you can do on different, different platforms, depending on where you're looking to get launched. So for example, you could do this on Meta, you could do this on YouTube, TikTok, like all of them have their own version of launching these kinds of campaigns. But the way you do it is you can just go target people who are fans of similar artists. So in this case, this is one of our artists, Erica Mason. And so she targeted people who are fans of Kendrick Lamar, Drake, and Kalani. And so you can see there's a total audience size of 66 million people that you can connect with. And I'll tell you what, like I couldn't talk to 66 million people when I was going tour hacking, talking to people face to face. So this is a really powerful way that you can get in front of those people. The other way that you could do this is if for some reason you have an existing network or a connection where you have either you already built an audience or you're friends with an artist like that, then sometimes you can be able to do things like open for them on tour and network with them, do cross collaborations. Generally, I don't recommend starting there unless you've already built some momentum and you have an audience, because once you do, then it's going to be easier to get opportunities like opening for tour with a bit, for a bigger artist. If you don't have an audience, generally what they're looking for is people to support the tour and people that can sell tickets and that are going to be a good fit. And so until you have that, I would probably lean towards more something like tour hacking or virtual tour hacking is what we call it, when you target people who are fans of similar bands. And once you have that audience, the next step is to share some of your music with them. And so we call this creating a fan magnet campaign. And this is something that you can build in the Street Team platform. But the idea is that if you start by identifying, what are 3 of your songs that you really want to feature and showcase? And I would recommend choosing your favorite of your top 3. Out of the billions of people in the world, I can almost guarantee you can find 1,000 true fans who resonate with your music. So it ultimately just depends on who do you want to attract and what music do you feel like best resonates or represents who you are. And as long as you're being authentic, then you'll be able to start building an audience around that authentic identity, because you don't want to build an audience around an inauthentic identity, which you can do, but it just means that you have to keep doing stuff that's not in alignment with who you are, which sucks. So better to just do what you love, what truly resonates with you, and then just find those people, which you absolutely can. And so what we recommend is choosing those 3 songs and then breaking up each of those songs into 4 specific moments. So this could be like a verse or a chorus or a bridge, or maybe a melody or a hook, something that just is like a 30 to 45 second clip that really showcases the best, most compelling parts of the song. And once you have those, then you can create some content like this. So this is Erica Mason, and she's an amazing artist. She came into our community, and she was starting from zero in terms of her business revenue, and now she's grown to over 2.1 million followers, over $100,000 a year with her music online, and she's a great role model, and especially a great example of this strategy we're talking about right now, because this is really how she built her audience, which was sharing these moments and taking clips of her songs and putting them out on social media. And so what we recommend is just starting with a launch where you take your top 3 songs, you break it up into those moments, and that's going to give you fuel to be able to put out the campaign and see who resonates with it. And from there, After someone listens to it, the next step is to, if they do enjoy it, to invite them to join your community. And this is that step about taking people from following you on social media or listening to one of your songs to actually becoming a member of your community and collecting their contact information. And this part's really important. If you don't collect their contact information, then it's like the rain's falling around you. But again, like it's falling through your hands. It's just going straight into the ground. You really want to make sure you have that rain catcher set up. The best way to do that is by inviting fans to unlock a free gift and collect their contact information when they unlock the gift. Now, there's different things you can offer in terms of free gifts. So I would recommend testing and seeing what works best for you. But this could include anything from, an exclusive download of a new song, or just to listen to a new song before it comes out anywhere else, or just inviting people to join your private community for free to unlock VIP access. And that's where Street Team comes in. So Street Team, in a nutshell, is sort of like if Patreon and Discord and Facebook groups had a baby. But instead of Mark Zuckerberg owning your baby, you actually own your baby, which is good. So you can host different tiers of access to you and your music, and you can do things like share early access to a new song before it comes out, or you can do things like private live streams where you connect with your fans through the Street Team platform. There's a lot more we could dive into as well in terms of, there's a fan currency that basically fans can earn either by supporting you and purchasing things from your shop, or by doing things that support you, like pre-saving a song or referring friends to join your community. And they can use these to vote for requests and things that they want to receive from you as an artist. So right now I'm sharing a demo account called Radioactive Robot, which is this like fictitious artist that we've created with kind of a fun backstory. At some point I actually might do something with Radioactive Robot. He's like a cyborg that I'm not going to go into it, but basically, you can use these tokens to upvote requests and things that you want to see from the artist, like maybe a cover song. So if you were like, I want to hear this song, then you could make a request, and then other people in the community could say, you know what? Yeah, I want to hear that song too, and they could vote it up. And then you as the artist have a pulse on what do your fans find most valuable and what do you want to actually create next for them. So never again do you have to kind of wonder like, what should I post or what should I create? Because your fans will literally vote and tell you the things that they would find most valuable.
Love that.
So that's the follower step. So inviting them to join your community. Once they are subscribed, the next step is to become a participant. So this is going from someone who's just kind of a fly on the wall. It's actually inviting them to engage and be a part of it, to leave a post or to submit a survey and tell you more about them. So our biggest recommendation is to have a survey that fans can fill out when they come in, so you can get to know who they are, and also so you can improve your targeting. So when you are running your ads, you can reach the right people that are fans of similar bands that are also based on the people who have turned out to be your most engaged fans. We'll talk about that a little bit with lookalike audiences. But the next step after participants is becoming an attendee. So that's sort of like taking that next step from someone who is engaged, who kind of participates with the post, to someone who actually shows up in the live moment. And there is something special about the present moment. I think that the present moment is like eternal. It goes deep, and there's a level of connection that happens when we share the same space, at the same time. And that's the reason that live shows are so powerful. It's the reason that we're coming together as a community, like, you can feel that because of the presence, because of the live moment. And so bringing someone into a live experience where you're sharing space with them and doing that, there's different ways you can do it. You can do it through a one-on-one meeting, through something kind of like Zoom, kind of like what we're doing right now. If you shared this, with someone 500 years ago, that we're connecting through this little portal in our, in our screen across the world, it would just be like mind blown. And I do think like right now on the internet, the best way for you to actually connect, the strongest connection you can make is through something like Zoom or is through something like live streaming. It's the reason that some of the most influential creators in the world are the people who are streaming on things like Twitch, is because
Mm,
that present moment connection, the interaction, the engagement is so powerful, when you connect live. And so the next step after someone joins the community is them becoming an attendee and actually showing up, holding space with you and with the community.
mhm. Yeah.
And from there, that's where the inner circle community comes in. And so the concept of the inner circle is, I would recommend thinking about it sort of like a Kickstarter campaign, how you might have different tiers of
Mm,
offers or bundles, starting from the low to the very high. And one way I would definitely recommend looking into it, because I know it's easy to get overwhelmed to think like, oh, like I gotta do all like so many different things, and like, I need to invite my fans to like come to my visit to my grandma at the nursing home, and that was a bad example. I don't even know where that came from. Like, no one do that. Like, do
Don't
not.
do that.
We need like a disclaimer on this interview. Like, do not take fans to visit grandma.
To the nursing home.
um,
Uh,
but what I would recommend thinking through, like when you're creating those different tiers, is just focusing on not overwhelming you
yeah.
or the fans, and just doing the things that you're doing anyways. But invite your fans to be a part of the process at different levels. So, for example, with bronze, maybe they get early access to the new song before it comes out anywhere else. Whereas for diamond, maybe they actually get to come to the studio and spend a day with
Yeah.
you as you're recording, and they get
Right.
to be in a music video or to record stomps and claps on a song with you. And gosh, if you imagine like Paul McCartney did something like this, oh my gosh, it'd be totally priceless. And that's the kind of experience that you can create for your community. And in particular, one thing I would definitely recommend leaning into for all the artists listening to this is this diamond offer.
Mhm.
This is often something that's between $5,000 to like $15,000. So this is like a VIP fan experience, but
Right.
it's easily the fastest way to get a real return on your ad spend is through having these high ticket offers.
Mhm.
Um, one way to look at it, if we're doing some like math, and hopefully I don't lose a bunch of people here who are like, math,
Math.
math.
Artists, we
uh,
don't do
but I'm
that.
gonna try to make it like as simple as possible. So just using like even numbers, right? So I'm not saying like these are the specific numbers you want to aim for, but as an example, if you are running ads, and let's say that you spent $1,000 in ads, and you brought in 1,000 members to your email list with those $1,000, that would
Mhm.
mean that on average, your cost per fan was $1 per fan. Because you spent $1,000, you got 1,000 fans in your email list, so you spent $1 per fan.
Right.
That would mean that if you wanted to reach 10,000 fans, you could say, "Awesome! Like I just need to get a budget of $10,000 and a dollar per fan, then I could reach my goal of 10,000 fans." And then below here, you have your average value per fan, and you'd want to summarize it from all these offers. But let's just start with like the diamond offer. And let's imagine that you were doing like a $5,000 offer,
Mhm.
and $5,000, depending on who's listening to this, might feel like a lot, but it really 5,000 is really what I would recommend starting with. Like in the past couple of weeks, at the time of recording this, we had like a $10,000 sale. We just had a $15,000 sale. So like $5,000 is not like the craziest thing to offer for something like this, but if you and it's just a numbers game too. Like again, this is definitely not the number I would recommend aiming for. But hypothetically, if 1 out of 100 people who joined your email list got this diamond offer, that would mean that on average, that you were earning $50 per fan,
Yeah.
because 1 out of 100 you got the diamond offer, which means that you're spending $1 per fan and you're getting $50 per fan out, which is like bananas. And if you
Yeah.
ever go to a slot
Crazy.
machine and like you put in $1, and every time you put it in, like it brings out $50, then
Right.
you should bring all of your dollar bills and like put it
All
in
of
the
your
slot
dollars.
machine. Um, so generally, and again, like this is what my recommendations are that you run these campaigns and you actually see what are your numbers, and there are actionable things you can do to split test and optimize your funnels and your ads to decrease your cost per fan and increase your average value per fan.
Right.
But if you're aiming for somewhere closer to like 1 in 1,000, and we've
Yeah.
had clients who had like 200 or 300 people and were able to make a $5,000 sale with just a few hundred. So 1 in 1,000 is absolutely possible.
Mm.
But if you did that, then that would mean that instead of $50, your average value per fan was $5 just from that one offer. So not including anything else.
Right. Right.
And what that means is that for every dollar you spend, you're getting a 500%
Return.
return.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like, okay, let's start increasing our ad budget and let's start, so that we can start to scale it. And there's more to the game of paid media. Like in an ideal world, it'd be like, okay, cool. Like I spent $100, I made back $500. I'm going to spend $1 million and I'm going to get back
Right.
$5 million.
Yeah.
But generally what's going to happen is you start to scale your campaigns. You're probably going to start hitting saturation on your market. So your
Mhm.
cost per fan will start to go up over time. So then you have to do things like split test to get your ads down, to create more compelling things. And so it's not necessarily a linear line where it's like, okay, like now I'm going to spend $10 billion, make $500 billion.
Mhm.
But, this is really like the nature of advertising. And this is why, people spend millions of dollars a day on ads, because they figured out this system to be able to turn a dollar into
Yeah.
$5 and start to scale those up. And
Yes.
so, this is just one way to grow and build your community, but it's my favorite because it's not relying on luck. You don't have to go viral on social media and kind of hope and keep posting things until
Right.
like you kind of have a big break. But it's really systematic and it's based on keeping track of those metrics. And yeah, I was a weird kid in high school like math, and so like when it comes like to that kind of stuff, I love it, and that's why we really focus on that. Because it's also the fastest way to like really get launched, no matter how big your existing audience is, and to reach new people. But that's really like the core of a advertising funnel, is learning how to master that process. The last thing that I'll mention as it relates to this framework is one of the most powerful parts is what happens after you continue to run traffic and you continue to get more data that's coming into your system, which is the most valuable thing that you're getting is actually the data from people who are going through your funnel and people who are purchasing things from you, because that
Mhm.
data you can use to create something called a lifetime value lookalike audience. And a lookalike audience basically is like if you had 100, so the minimum is 100 people on Facebook and Instagram to create a lookalike audience. But if you have 100 people, and let's just say that these are super fans of your music, and you tell Meta, these are my super fans, I want to create a lookalike audience based on this audience, then it's going to look at what are all the similarities between those people, what are the demographics, and it's going to find you 1 to 2 million people that most closely match the characteristics of that source audience that you gave them. And so that's where you really start to supercharge your ad results as well, is when you start feeding back in the data of who your most valuable fans are. And so that's one of the things that I was so excited to be able to build in the Street Team. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I want to show you a demo that actually isn't even publicly out yet, but I'm really excited about it, that I think encapsulates
Yeah.
this lookalike audience very well.
I'm super, yeah, yeah, please pull that up and show us. I'm super excited to see Street Team launch because everything that we talk about in our Keep It Indie community, it comes back to that fan funnel. And we dive into like a lot of the steps you were just talking about, but doing them, I would say, more manually. And this is going to be a platform that kind of transforms that experience and makes it so much easier for artists to implement their fan funnel and make it effective and make it work. And one thing that I think, is a deterrent for a lot of artists who are trying to figure out how to succeed and they're not fully pursuing a fan funnel is that you kind of have to have a little bit of an entrepreneurial mindset. behind being an artist. And that's what differentiates the pro artists from the artists who don't ever make it a full-time career, is that entrepreneurial mindset and implementing things like the fan funnel. And so I think this platform is going to be huge in the independent artist community and just making it easier because up until this point, like, we talk about fan funnels all the time, and that's something I mentor on, and that's something that is in our community and playbooks and things like that. But it's a lot of work. And so to have a team or to have a platform like Street Team that essentially walks you through these steps and provides you step by step instructions on how to do it is going to be insane for independent artists. Like, I'm so excited to see this launch.
Nailed it. Yeah, I mean, I'm equally as excited to connect with mentors and folks like yourself to be able to get the tool in the hands of artists.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason that we wanted to make it free to use, just to like
Yeah.
eliminate all of the friction, just make it really easy
Barriers.
to get
Yeah.
launched and to get results. Because that's
Right.
really kind of putting our money where our mouth is like
Right.
that this is about you connecting with your fans and building a sustainable career.
Right.
So I pulled up the demo here. So some of the first people to ever see this, but this is one of the benefits of what you get when you actually collect and own that fan data is
Mhm.
with the fan map feature, you can do things like actually click on a map and see which of your fans live within 35 miles of Orlando, for example. And if you are going to play a show in Orlando, being able to actually identify who those people are and being able to actually communicate with them. So adding them to a journey, which essentially is our way of building this concept of email sequences and funnels, or creating a lookalike audience, based on that group of people. So that's the other thing is, let's imagine that you only wanted to reach people whose name was Michael, because what other fans are worth even getting? And and then let's say that you wanted to reach people that had a lifetime value that was greater than $1 million,
Yeah.
like all Michael fans spend. Then you could actually create a filtered audience of all those people and then select those people and add them to a lookalike audience so you can stay
Yes.
connected with that kind of fan. And that's something that we've been geeking out on CRMs and funnels and automations and things for like the past 8 years, and I've never been able to do something like this. Uh,
Yeah.
Same thing with the journeys feature. So yeah, I want to preface this by saying like one of the things I'm most excited about is integrating Artist AI into the platform. That just makes all this stuff really easy for you. So you don't have to worry about being a business geek like me or like in math, but it just like it takes your identity and actually helps you create customized templates. But basically, journeys gives you the ability to merge together the concept of a funnel and of an email sequence so that you can split test and basically send people down different paths. So, for example, you might have two different songs. You might say, which of these songs is resonating most with my fans? Now, with
Mhm.
this, it's really easy to be able to run those split tests and see which one is actually resonating more with your fans. And then you can also do things like send email reminders specifically for when someone falls off track on this step of the journey. So usually with workflows and automations and funnels, those are two separate concepts. But really the idea with an email sequence, you're sending people back to the funnel, but it leads to this disconnect where like, again, it's like that Harry Potter, like we're going to send people to page 687, but they haven't read page 2 yet. If someone
Yeah.
hasn't read page 2, then instead of following up with them and saying, hey, like you thought you'd be interested in page 687, instead we want to follow up with someone and say, hey, looks like you didn't have a chance to fill out my survey yet, and before I send you the next thing, I just wanted to make sure that you had a chance to do that. Here's the
Right.
link again, so we can bring them back to that step rather than sending them to step 687. And again, like this might be like kind of getting jargony and talking about like crazy stuff. So the thing that also I'm very excited about is having Artist AI built into the platform. So for example, if we were going to sell an offer with one of those diamond offers, then you can
Mhm.
bundle in different products for it. And maybe we'd also say we want to bundle in um, 12 months of access to this tier of my inner circle. And now you can also click generate an image using Artist AI, And based on you as an artist, your artist identity, and based on the products that are included in the bundle, it's going to create an entirely unique image to go with it. And this is always fun to see what kind of what it comes up with. But whoa,
Nice. That's cool.
I like that. It's very on brand for Erica as well.
Oh,
Um,
that's
and then we could, create a description for it as well.
just makes it so much easier to put these things together.
And then you have a bundle that you can put in front of your fans. You can also create a custom bundle. So if you're connecting with a fan who's been with you for a year and they, they're part of your membership, your street team community, and they've done things like edited a bunch of videos for you, then you might do things like say, hey, you know what? Just because you're awesome, I'm just going to hook you up with free access to this. And so you're going to get a full year of access to my Diamond Inner Circle in exchange for, you being such a big supporter and editing my videos and doing X, Y, Z. And that comes back to the heart of the street team concept is, connecting with your fans. And, and street teams historically, they fans that love the artist so much, they hit the streets, they promote essentially for free, but not really for free. It's usually kind of in exchange for some kind of access or recognition from the artist. And so that's part of the mission of the street team platforms, to help connect artists with their top fans and to be able to help them provide value to those people and honor them. And this is one of the ways that you can do that.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see this hit the street, no pun intended. Or pun fully intended actually. But yeah, I'm excited to see this hit and just like see it transform and make it so much easier for independent artists to implement those fan funnels that we've been talking about for years, and doing manually. This is going to make it so much easier to have that virtual version of tour hacking and fan funneling and implementing your email list and then making your email list count, like making it funnel to something other than you just sending out an email every month, like funneling it to the right places. So thank you so much for sharing that and sharing that with our audience. We do have a few people attending live, so I just wanted to open it up. We've got a few minutes. If there's any questions, now's your chance to ask Michael. And if not, we'll end it here because I think that has been an incredible conversation. But yeah, the floor is open if anyone wants to ask a question.
No questions here. Great job.
Thanks, Dave. Well, cool. All right. Well, we are gonna wrap it up then. Michael, could you tell everyone where they can find you? And then if they want to keep tabs on where or on when Street Team's coming out, like how do they get that information, all that good stuff?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity to kind of eat our own dog food. I think as it relates to like using journeys for ourselves.
Yes.
So Journeys and Street Team is right now in private beta, and so one of the things I'm personally most excited about is using it for ourselves. So we're right now like rolling out all of our internal journeys and funnels and things that we used to build on all these different platforms, and it's so much more streamlined. And so this is a perfect use case for actually creating a journey and using this to invite people to join our community and to get more value from the the stories from everyone else that's part of the community as well, and free trainings and workshops and resources and all that good stuff. And so what we'll do is I'll share a journey link for you, Dawn, because you're awesome and this has been a lot of fun. You are a great interviewer. So I'll create a special journey literally just for you and just for this community. And then the link, I'm sure wherever people are watching this, they can click on a button below or click on a link somewhere and it'll bring them right to the start of the journey.
Awesome. Yes, we will share that link for sure. So stay tuned. It'll probably be in our description. So if you're watching this at a later date, look down below and it's probably there. But yeah, thank you so much, Michael, for coming on and chatting about just everything we talked about. It's been so informative, and Modern Musician and Street Team, like both are incredible platforms and initiatives you've got going. And I think such a huge resource for independent artists. So I'm super happy we could share that. And just thank you for your time. We really had a great time chatting and hope we get to do it again.
Aw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. No, this has been a lot of fun. I host a podcast, and so most of the time, it's flipped around, and I'm asking the questions. So it's very rare that I actually have like an interview like this. So you're a great interviewer. I appreciate you holding space and inviting me into the community.